Hey guys, Soberoni here with another Servant Spotlight, this time for Atalanta, the Evil Cat. In this video we're going to analyze her skills, her stats, and her deck, as well as give some tips on how to use her effectively and an overall grade on how well she stacks up to the other 4-star servants. But before we get into all of that, I just want to let you guys know to look forward to some Okeanis Servant Spotlights and Okeanis Guide, as well as a few other surprise events. We're going to be doing an Okeanis live stream as soon as that releases, so just keep your eyes out for those videos. And with that out of the way, let's dive into Atalanta. So Atalanta boasts the highest HP among all the 4-star archers with 12,476. In fact, she's near the top of the list when it comes to HP among 4 stars in general. But unfortunately, the same can't be said of her obscenely low attack of 8,633, which is unsurprisingly the lowest attack among 4-star archers, so she has very polarizing stats. As for her skills, she has Beyond Arcadia rank B, which increases quick card effectiveness for 1 turn for all allies between 18 to 36%, and that can be increased through an interlude to Beyond Arcadia rank A, which increases quick card effectiveness for all allies between 30 to 50% for a single turn. She also has Hunter's Aesthetic rank C, which greatly increases crit star gathering rate for 1 turn between 500 to 1000%. And finally, through an interlude, she gains Caledon Hunt rank A, which applies evade and increases her Noble Phantasm gain between 30 to 50% for 3 turns. For her passives, she has Independent Action rank A, which increases critical strength by 10%, and Magic Resistance D, which increases debuff resist by 12.5%. Moving on to her deck and Noble Phantasm, she has a Quick Arts Buster deck. Her Noble Phantasm is Phobos Catastrophe, which is a quick and it deals heavy damage to all enemies, and it gains critical stars between 10 to 30, which can be strengthened via an interlude to increase the damage modifier and grant between 15 to 35 crit stars. At first, you may be turned off by Atalanta's staggeringly low attack and AoE Noble Phantasm, but don't let that scare you away. Atalanta is actually a highly specialized archer that's quite unique in the role she plays. Her primary purpose is to generate crit stars, and she plays the role of a quick support, and to that extent, she does an excellent job. Her attacks and Noble Phantasm produce a ton of crit stars to feed your team, especially her Noble Phantasm, which is just capable of producing a ludicrous amount of crit stars, to the point where it's more useful as a star bomb than an actual attack. There are very few consistent crit star generators in the game, especially at release. Outside of her, only Cursed Arm Hassan and Gilgamesh can really fill the role, which makes her quite valuable. But unlike Cursed Arm Hassan and Gil, Atalanta's role as a quick team support is further punctuated by her skill Beyond Arcadia, which to this day, even in Japanese version, remains one of the best buffs in the game. It is, after all, essentially a quick card mana burst for the whole team. Beyond Arcadia is by far Atalanta's strongest asset and what separates her from pretty much everyone else. Her evade skill is a staple of the archer class, but it's also very nice to have, especially since it increases her Noble Phantasm gain. Unfortunately, that's where the positives end for Atalanta. Her attack is abysmal, and while Atalanta is best when playing a support-oriented role, she's not a full-fledged support servant like most casters are. Outside of the 1-turn quick buff and the star generation, she doesn't do anything else for the team. She has no heal, she has no team-wide Noble Phantasm generation, she has no team evades, she has no crit damage up for the team or nothing. Her deck is another big weakness. Having 1 Buster card doesn't help her at all in the damage dealing department, and her 2 arts cards are just as pointless because the only thing worse than her damage is her horrible Noble Phantasm gain. Charging her Noble Phantasm from 0 to 100 is a challenge in and of itself. She just has some of the worst Noble Phantasm generation in the entire game. Thankfully, Caledon Hunt relieves that a bit, but it's still pretty bad even with that skill active. She would have benefited way more from a 3 quick card deck, but finally her biggest flaw is her class. She's an archer who generates crit stars, and that's a bad combination. Most players may not know this, and I plan on doing a video on it later for that reason, but different servant classes have varying abilities to attract crit stars. It isn't entirely random. Berserkers have the lowest star attraction rate and Riders have the highest. However, Archers have the second highest crit rate, which means a huge portion of the crit stars that Atalanta generates will likely go back to her unless you have a Rider on your team or someone with a star absorption skill. And while Atalanta's crits can hurt and make up for her less than stellar attack, she still has low attack, so they won't hurt as much as a crit from a stronger servant. To make matters worse, she has a skill, Hunter's Aesthetic, which increases her crit star absorption. For what reason you would want to do that, I have no idea, since her crit absorb is already naturally very high, and you usually don't want her to get the crit stars anyway. If this skill boosted her crit damage or was targetable so you could use it on an ally, Atalanta would be a million times better, but it doesn't and it isn't, so I would avoid leveling this until last. Of course, you want to max Beyond Arcadia first above all else, and then Caledon Hunt if only for the Noble Phantasm gain. Despite the aforementioned high star weight, Atalanta still pairs well with many servants. Gil is your best bet as he has higher star weight than her and is a crit monster. Same goes for Emiya, who pairs fantastically with her since he can also put in work to generate crit stars with his Noble Phantasm, and he can also boost his crit damage. Atalanta also complements Riders very well since they universally have higher star weight than her, so she won't be hogging all their stars, and they usually have quick Noble Phantasms that benefit from Beyond Arcadia, so this especially benefits Ushi, Medusa, and Marie. Lancelot's also a no-brainer since he has a skill that lets him collect all of Atalanta's stars, and he is the crit berserker. However, if you are absolutely keen on making Atalanta your main damage dealer, make sure you pair her with either Waver or Hans Christian Andersen, since both of them can increase the crit damage of their allies. They also both work in conjunction with Atalanta to support another servant like Lancelot or Gil, and for craft essences, go with Imaginary Around and its lower rarity counterpart, since that'll help her produce even more crit stars and give her a little bit boost to damage. And you can also go with Kaleidoscope if you want to rush that Noble Phantasm, though it's more situational. And if you want to do something fun, you can go the Crit Lanta route and stick her with the Moonlight Fest craft essence, since the increased crit star drop and crit damage are exactly what she needs in combination with her own star absorption skill to really make the most of it. Overall, it pains me to be so harsh on poor little Atalanta because I seriously love her and adore her, but personal feelings aside, Atalanta isn't amazing. She fits a really rare role as a quick support that can produce a ton of crit stars. But there's a reason why that role is rare, and that's because quick teams overall aren't that strong. Situationally, Atalanta can be extremely useful, like buffing Ushi during a boss fight, or feeding Gil enough crit stars that he gets off an entire crit brave chain, but those moments are few and far between, and her major drawbacks of having high star absorption and no built-in crit buff are huge. There are better crit star generators, especially later on in the game, and while Atalanta remains one of the best quick supports, unless there's a major shift in gameplay, that isn't saying much. Overall, she gets a C- before her interludes and a C+ after everything is unlocked. Well, that's the way the cookie crumbles. I still think she's usable and passable from a gameplay perspective after her interludes, so if you really like her as a character or plan on building a quick team, then she's worth investment. Otherwise, you might want to save those essential materials for Gil or Emiya. Let me know what you all think in the comments below. You know I love to chat it up with you guys and see what your take on the servants and the whole game are. And by the way, guys, I have started streaming, and if you haven't joined us for one of our G&A After Dark streams, you are missing out on a ton of fun. So keep your eyes peeled for those weekend streams on this channel. As always, if you guys liked the video, let me know with a thumbs up, and if you really liked it, I recommend you subscribe for more spotlights and FGO content. And that's all I've got to say for now, so I'll see you guys next time. Soberoni out. Later.